Derby days, it's a chance for Manchester United to restore some pride to the Red Half of Manchester. So we're going to be looking at the big name players. Can they give Ralf Rangnick the 3 points and the bragging rights that we all want? Check it out. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Derby Day preview. Joining me is my good mate, old friend who I've not seen for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. Not that long.
Not that long when you think about it. And fellow Eccles alumni, Callum Stone. How are we doing, brother?
You're right, mate. Not too bad.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a nightmare getting from Eccles on the tram before, but
typical.
Never any better, is it? So
was it on? There's a bonus.
Well, the points failed. He decided to not let me go through Media City, but
other
than that, we were all right.
Yeah, I hate that. Focusing on equally important matters of the Manchester Derby, we know that City not had it all the wrong way of late, but they're doing what City doing. The top of the league, and they're doing quite well, shall we say. United, not so much. This is a game where you need your big players to step up, don't you? You need the big names to show what they're about. Now, one player who's not featured a lot this season, but could be available, according to the recent comments from Ralf Rangnick, is Edinson Cavani. Now, even if he doesn't start, and we'll get to our predicted 11s in a bit, do you think Cavani might have something, if he does play, off the bench or whatever, could have a say in this game?
Yeah, I think he might do, but I think it'll be as a sub. I don't think he'll start because, obviously he's come back from another injury. I can't tell if he's injured or if he just can't be bothered. He's barely made himself available this season. And I think you can see that with Ronaldo being so mentally fatigued at the moment. I think if Cavani was available the past four or five games, we might have seen a few better results. But he's slightly bothered me this season. And, with obviously various issues around the forward line that we've got this season, having Cavani available, I think, would have really helped us. And the fact that he's just not been there kind of shows all the problems that we originally thought about him when we originally signed him on deadline day last season. You've
sort of echoed a lot of sentiments I'm hearing from other United fans. I can see there's a frustration there because he's a popular figure, Cavani, isn't he? Or he was. He's a bit of a cult hero. He's got a couple of chances everyone loves and scored some great goals. Yeah, there is a sort of a feeling that maybe it's not a case of him just being injured, that he just don't fancy it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think it's exactly that. And for some reason, Cavani seems to have gained some kind of cult hero status, especially in the stadium. His name's constantly sung about in the Red Army stand, especially in the J stand in Stretford end. Yeah, he's never even there anyway. I can't understand it. Like, he's a great player when he wants to be, but he's barely made himself available. Like, is he arsed this weekend?
Is that what I mean? Do you look at it then? Do you look at it from that point of he's not making himself available? Because that is the problem. And if a player's injured, they're injured. I get it. And when we bought him, we knew he had injury problems because that's why he was a free agent, despite all the goals he scored. Or do you think the problem is it's not necessarily that he's injured as such, just the case of he doesn't want to put his body on the line for some of these games?
Well, I think maybe he's got in the back of his head that he's going to be a free agent again in the summer and he doesn't want to risk any injuries again because he knows he can be quite injury prone. If that's the case, then fine. But if you're going to be picking up 200 grand a week, you need to be doing your job. And if he's genuinely got that in the back of his head that he's thinking about his next club already, then pay him off. Tell him to go now. It bothers me so much that we seem to have really struggled in this last 15 weeks of all these easy run of games that we supposedly were supposed to pick up maximum points. We picked up, I think it was 25 points out of possible 42 or 39. Cavani could have really helped us in that period.
100%.
And he's just not being available. I'm under the impression, of course, he's got this cult hero status, and I do like him as a player. I think when he plays well, he's really useful for us. But I'm still under the impression that Solskjaer never even wanted him. If Solskjaer wanted him that much, he wouldn't have waited till deadline day.
Yeah. It did seem like a bit of a lastminute.com thing because he wasn't even eligible for the Newcastle game, was he, because of the quarantine?
Yeah,
if we'd have got him a couple of weeks earlier, he could have played in that game. And you think, well, why didn't we then? Because we could have used him. I know we ended up winning that game. I think we won it 4-1 in the end, but we didn't know that was going to happen when we signed him. We could have missed him. You know what I mean? It seems a bit odd.
Yeah, well, all these fans knew about this as well, and it's so frustrating to see because we could have, we were linked with him for ages, but we were naturally going to be anyway because United linked with everybody. But, I mean, it's just typical media, isn't it, really? But we're linked with everyone, and Cavani was linked with us all summer. If we were really wanting him, we would have got him in July and just, integrate him into the squad, and we didn't do. And then he wasn't available for a lot of games as well. And then he was injured himself because he injured himself putting his boots on in training or whatever it was. It's so frustrating knowing that we had all summer to act diligently in the market, and yet still the recruitment side of things from upstairs still just didn't work again, and it's let us down. especially with the injuries that he's had and however lazy he might be, because he does seem when he does play, he does want to chase the ball down. But I mean, there's another argument about how badly we press the ball anyway. So it'd have been nice for him to be a bit available a bit more, and it's quite frustrating to see that he's decided to show up this weekend when it happens with the derby.
Well, there's only one way to win us all over. If anyone who is doubting you, Edison, and that is to get a winner in the derby.
Quick word from today's sponsors, Profit Accumulator. Now, Profit Accumulator is a website that helps you using step-by-step things in how to get more money out of the bookies by using something called matched betting, Jay.
Matched betting, I like the sound of that, because as we well know, the gambling industry is getting more and more fierce. It's getting fiercer and fiercer, and bookies are giving you offers that are crazier and crazier to get your business. And what's matched betting does, what it does, is it literally matches those bookies' offers against one another to help you get some profit. You could almost say to help you accumulate some profit.
That's the one. Yep. And you can see here, we've got this on screen right now.
I need this because I don't know anything.
Step by step, there's literally tutorials about which bookies to get involved with, which offers to do, which ones to get onto, how to sign up. It's got your basics, how to set up the betting accounts, how to do all this stuff. And it's got here, you can see there's a guaranteed profit of £16, guaranteed profit of £24. They get it all sorted for you. All you've got to do is follow the tutorials, follow the videos, and that's all you've got to do.
I mean, that looks easy enough for even me to use.
I reckon it is, Jay. I reckon we could do this.
You don't get any easier than that. If I can use it, then anyone can, literally.
Yep. They've had over 150,000 customers to date, so you make sure you check them out. And you get, like I said, you can make up to £45 just by signing up today. You don't need to use any credit card details. You literally just sign up, put your details in, get an account ready, and that is you ready to go. So make sure you click the link in the description to help you earn that little bit extra.
Because we do need to restore a little bit of pride to Manchester United, don't we? I mean, you know, if it wasn't for Leeds United this season, it'd be a complete disaster because, you know, they've been our whipping boys. But in terms of our rivals, obviously, I don't want to go into the Liverpool game. We didn't really turn up for City at home, did we? Do you think this is an ideal opportunity for United to not just get back in or emphasise our top four credentials, but also just as a fan to get yourself feeling a bit more confident, a bit of pride? Because whilst battering Leeds was good, everyone does that, don't they? And against some of the other teams, we've looked a bit underwhelming, shall we say?
Underwhelming is probably the nicest word you could use for it. We've looked... Am I allowed to swear?
Of course you are. Come on, Callum.
We've looked
you know
shite. We've looked shite.
Right, okay, well, that's not even swearing, technically.
Yeah, I suppose.
Factual.
Yeah, I mean, obviously beating Leeds is always great. I mean, they are one of our biggest rivals, long-term rivals. But, I mean, against Liverpool, I still can't get over that result. Obviously, we're supposed to be playing them this month, but with them going through to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, that's not going to happen now. We were shocking against City. I mean, City barely came out of second gear and they battered us 2-0. So those two games were really underwhelming. I kind of think that was the final straw for Ollie, really. I mean, the whole restoring pride and bragging rights thing, as much you always want to win the derby game, no matter where each team is in the league. I just worry for what kind of United side's going to turn up on Sunday. I do hope that they are aware of how big this fixture is, especially with the needing top four. After the Watford game, I genuinely think those chances might have gone, so it'd be nice if we could actually restore that pride and show that we can try and get back up there. But I just, with the way that we've been playing and the way that some players perform and the sort of lack of quality that they've shown, I do worry, because I know how good City can be, and I think and City know that they need to win, because the other lovely team that we seem to like over at the M62 are breathing down the necks now. So I just can't be bothered anymore. It's just driving me mental.
Honestly, you know the worst thing is like knowing United, we'll win, and I always want to beat City. We'll beat City, or we'll get a draw against City, and help the Scousers win the league, lose to Liverpool, Anfield. I mean, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's just focus on the City game first. But that would be awful, because I hate City, but I hate Liverpool a lot more. That
would be the thing, though. It'd be the most typical this season Man United, wouldn't it? We go draw 0-0 to Watford, have 300 shots and only 3 of them on target, create all these big chances and get an XG of nearly 3, and then go beat City 4-0. It'd be exactly what would happen, wouldn't it? And then we'd lose to Spurs because Conte's said that he wants to leave again or whatever.
With all that in mind, give us your predicted 11 for the game at the Etihad. Let us talk us through your team there. You can see it on the screen there, for you can talk everyone through it.
Oh, I wish I brought my glasses. But
right,
anyway,
well, I can tell you, you've gone David De Gea, Alex Telles, Harry Maguire, Rafael Varane, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Tell me why you've gone with Telles and Wan-Bissaka and not Dalot and Shaw.
Well, I've gone with Tellez because, how do I put it bluntly? I think Shaw has been good for 6 months in an 8-year career at Man United, and I genuinely believe Tellez is better than him.
I agree.
I
agree with pretty much everything you just said.
I will live and die on that hill before everyone shouts at me in a comment. But I will. I've kind of had enough for sure. I think it's probably one of the positions, not one of the priority positions, but it'd be something that we should definitely be looking at. Wan-Bissaka, I've gone with him because he's a better defender than Dalot, and we know City are going to have a lot of the ball, and we know in previous games against them, Wan-Bissaka's done brilliantly against the likes of Sterling. So it's purely that reason. I think depending on, I just think Wan-Bissaka's better in the way City will play and the way he'll be able to counter the way they play, because we know Dalot can go forward and he's probably better than Wan-Bissaka at going forward, but I don't think he's as good as a defender, and we're going to need that, especially with City having more of the ball. They're going to be attacking us a lot more than we attack them. So I think having that defender there will probably help us out, and having Tellez on the other side sort of counteracts that. That Dalot's not going to be there because he can get forward, he can charge the ball forward, he can put the ball in the box a lot better than Luke Shaw can. So I've just gone with those two fullbacks just because I think for this game in particular, I think they would do a better job.
The sort of the big call you've made here is no Paul Pogba. You've gone with McFred. You've kept Bruno in there. You've got Sancho, Elanga, Ronaldo. So you've basically sacrificed Paul Pogba to have Fred and McTominay, whichever way you want to look at it, in there. Just tell us your thinking behind that. You think that I almost said Ollie then. You think that's something that Ralph Rangnick could go for?
I actually think the reason why he might have gone for it is because of the game last season at the Etihad when we won 2-0. The way Ollie's plan came out then, it was so well executed from the players. And if I'm right in thinking, you had Fred and McTominay in that game, and they did so well. And I think Fred gets a lot of needless stick. Because, I don't want to bring him up, but I actually think Maguire is the reason why Fred gets a lot of stick. He's so slow on the ball and makes so many touches before he takes a pass. It's usually Fred that shows for the ball. But by the time Maguire's then released it to Fred, Fred's then in trouble because the opposition team has seen the pass that he's going to do.
Right.
But I think Fred and McTominay could do a good job. Like I say, I think they'll be able to counter the fact that City are going to have more of the ball. We're going to try, hopefully, overload their midfield because we're going to have to constantly be chasing them about. Fred will give us that energy. I don't think Pogba will do. So I've just gone for it for that pure reason. I think it has worked in the past. I still think we need to upgrade on those options, but unfortunately, that's what we've got this season. So purely for that reason, I've gone with McTominay and Fred.
You've gone Sancho, Ronaldo, and Elanga. Just quickly, was that a bit of a no-brainer for you with Marcus's form at the minute and the lack of availability, including, whether Edinson Cavani's even fit or match fit, certainly?
Well, yeah.
Why I went with those three.
So I did this before we obviously heard Rangnick saying that Cavani would be available. So I thought it was a no-brainer for Ronaldo. Unfortunately, we haven't got any other options.
Yeah.
Elanga, I think, could possibly do, just going back to that game last season, I think Elanga would be able to do that Daniel James job. Be able to effectively block off their fullbacks so that they can't execute them. It's
an important part of this, the game in it, because whoever they play at fullback like to get forward.
Well, yeah, exactly, and I think I've gone with Sancho as well, just because he's so in form at the minute. I think he'll have a little bit of a point to prove as well against City as well, especially Pep.
I felt sorry for Sancho, in the home game, because he was 2-0 down at half time and he brought him on. And it's just too much asking him to influence that game.
Well, yeah, he was kind of chasing something lost there.
He was one. It was over.
Well,
I know it's only 2-0
in the game,
but we hardly had the ball, and obviously he's got a point to prove, but it wasn't his fault. There was no getting back into that.
That's the annoying thing, though, isn't it? When you're 2-0 down, you should never actually be out of the game, but you could just tell there was no fight.
You nailed it before when you said it was like a training exercise for City. It was the most un-derby-like game I've ever seen in my life. It was like you think it was a friendly. Well,
that's what I mean. Yeah, it didn't feel like a derby, and I know. Fans in the ground would have been so infuriated with the way they played. I remember at the time, I think I just watched it in the pub and I was more annoyed at that game than I was the Liverpool game because...
I've heard a few people say this.
Well, Liverpool just completely destroyed us. They were just ruthless, whereas City weren't, which makes it worse. They kind of... They won 2-0 with ease and they know they could have made it 4-5-6-0, but they just couldn't be bothered. And I think that's the annoying... And I wonder if something like that would bite him at the end of the season should it come down to goal difference.
Right, we'll move on to my team. mine's a little bit different from yours. I've gone with Luke Shaw. This is predicted. I think he'll stick with Shaw. I'd prefer Tellers myself. I think Maguire, we didn't really mention Maguire, but he's kind of come out in the past, defended him, saying he's my captain to the end of the season. So that's why I've gone with that. I've took Fred out and gone with McTominay, Fernandes and Pogba. That's my different midfield from yours. I just feel like that's his preferred midfield. I know there's a lot to ask from Scott McTominay against the likes of Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne in City's midfield. But I feel like the old adage, attack is the best side of defence. And I feel as well that with Bruno, he does drop deep a lot as well. He can get stuck in. Even Pogba can at times. So I don't think it's all, that Bruno and Pogba are purely attacking. Now, the one that people might look at and go, what are you on about here? And I think I've got them the wrong. I know
exactly what name you're going to say.
I've got them the wrong way around. I think it should be Sancho on the left and Lingard on the right. Why is Jesse Lingard in there? I just feel like you were mentioning there about fullbacks getting forward and someone to sort of almost defend from the front. And Lingard can do that. He can do that. He's done it before the Etihad. And I think he's a player that Ralph Rangnick still obviously trusts, even though he was going to let him go. He started against Leeds and he's played him in other games as well. So I just feel like he could be a bit of a wild card there. Not expected, but I've just took a little bit of a punt that maybe Lingard gets a nod over Elanga, who, I do like him, but he's only young, and Rashford, whose form's fallen off the edge of a cliff.
I can see why you've gone with Lingard, to be fair. I mean, he could definitely do a job. And the thing is, as well, if Rangnick does want to press from the front, we know Ronaldo won't do that, whereas Lingard will chase everything down. Yeah. So I can see why you've gone with him. I don't particularly think he'll play myself, but... No,
it was a bit of a go on, let's throw one in. We're not going to do the opposition bit ourselves. Joe sat down or spoke to him over Zoom, spoke to Steve Mcinerney from the Esteemed Kompany podcast. He's a City fan. Spoke to him. Here's what those two had to say about the upcoming game at the Etihad.
Right then, we are joined by Stephen Mcinerney from the Esteemed Kompany YouTube channel to get a bit of a look at the Man City side of things. Now, it's a bit of a weird one for Man City because, yes, you're 19 points clear of Man United, but these days that doesn't necessarily mean much. You're in a tricky position where if we beat you, Liverpool can go ahead of you. And not just on goal difference and all this sort of stuff. They can go properly ahead of you. How concerned are you about Liverpool's form at the minute? Because it seemed like 2 months ago City had run away with the title. Now you're looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's definitely... I'm not in panic mode yet, but I'm definitely aware of Liverpool breathing down our necks. And football does this thing about narratives and all that kind of stuff, and you get fear of the story. Essentially, I'm worried about it being like an 18-19 reverse a little bit, but I don't really think it's cause for concern too much yet. It is in our hands still, and I do think Liverpool at some point are going to drop some points. They win like 16 games in a row, fair enough. At that point, you're like, they deserve it probably. But overall, I'm relatively relaxed. The form at the moment isn't too great, if I'm being totally honest, but I kind of have to trust this side because they've earned the trust. They've shown that they're capable of winning multiple games, more than multiple, 10, 15 games in a row, many, many times. And we've held our nerve in countless title races before. So it would be probably a bit unfair of me not to trust them to do it again. I do ultimately think City are a better side than Liverpool. It doesn't mean we're going to win the league. I know that will sound like a bit of a contradiction, but overall, I do think City have got slightly more experience at this stage of the season, and I do trust us to hold out. But yeah, the fact that United could be the ones to take some points off us to get Liverpool fully back into it, I don't really like that.
No, it's a bit of a double-edged sword for us as well. Like, the only way for us to do it is to beat City and then beat Liverpool in 2 weeks as well. That's the only way that United fans can be happy. Because if we give Liverpool a league title, I'm not going to be happy. But as a United fan, I just want to win every game, and let you worry about that. We'll just have to beat you both.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of I'll be honest, it's a bit crap being sat here as a United fan, having to think about which of our biggest rivals we'd like to win the league, and we've got no chance of winning it. So I'm willing to sit here and admit that. More on City then, because obviously, as United fans, we watch City, we pay attention, but sometimes I just can't be asked to see a team that holds all the ball, wins games that I also don't like. And I think that's pretty understandable.
That's fair enough, man. I would feel the same way about you.
Yeah, exactly. So who's been your sort of key players this season? Who are the ones to watch out for if being United? It seems to change every single year. Like, there was a point where sort of Sterling seemed to be the main man 2 or 3 years ago. Then it was De Bruyne. Then, Aguero obviously was there or thereabouts. This season, it seems to be shifting. Bernardo Silva looked like he might be leaving in the summer. Then I can't stop hearing about how much of a world-class player he is. So what's going on with City, and, who are the main men to look out for?
Yeah, that guy you just mentioned probably is not only the key, but he's going to be absolutely crucial for this game for Manchester City. Mainly because he does play well against United as well. He scored some good goals against you in the past. He scored a rocket as well at one point, and he just likes this kind of game. Games that've got a bit of needle and a bit of edge to them. He just comes alive in big games, and I know this isn't the biggest game anymore. But it's still a derby, and it still matters to the fans and. He senses that as well. There's a clip of him giving it large outside Old Trafford as well earlier on in the season. I remember when he's heading to the coach. So Bernardo is the best thing about him. Everyone knows he's technically brilliant, but he really comes alive in games that are a battle. He runs more than anyone else. He absolutely does not give up. He just doesn't. He's really tenacious. So Bernardo in the heart of midfield. De Bruyne is De Bruyne. He tends to do all right against United as well, and De Bruyne obviously. De Bruyne is great in a game like this when it's moments that separate the teams, individual moments, because he's just the kind of guy who can ping one in from 20 yards or just whipping a perfectly curved cross right in the back post to someone. So those two obvious ones. Diaz as well. You need a big leader in the games like this. You need someone who's going to essentially, be a rock. And Vinny was great for us for years at doing that, but Diaz obviously been fantastic since he came in. And then the local lads, Foden he gets it. He understands it. We've seen the effect that people like Rashford can have on derbies. I felt it painfully in first person, but there's a reason it matters so much to Rashford, and there's a reason it'll matter so much to Foden because they support the club. So I would probably say those 12 that I mentioned are where this game probably could come unstuck for City though they have an off day. But I do reckon, if one of those has an amazing day, by the way, I think City will win. I don't think we need them all to have an amazing day. It's just if they do, it means the catalyst is there for City's performance.
Yeah, obviously they've got good players on this City. I'm not going to sit.
We're doing all right,
Yeah, you got some good players. You can't turn it into a Champions League.
Mahrez is not too bad, these days, and Gundogan's
yeah,
all right.
Mahrez is all right as well. De Bruyne when he's not injured, he can stick a couple of goals in the back of the net. Going on to a score prediction then, obviously, like we said, recent years, going on the form at the Etihad, you might put United as favourite, but I think with the change in manager, the fact that we're missing pretty much every chance we have in the last sort of 6 weeks, I guess you're going to be going for a City win, are you?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go for City win. I reckon, obviously I'm hoping this, but I'm hoping kind of a sort of repeat of the reverse fixture, where that was a 2-0 thrashing. It was one of those games where City absolutely. It was. I'm not trying to be top of the way. I'm really not. But it was a schooling. It was almost sterile in how controlled.
Okay, all right. I get it.
Look, I'm behind enemy lines here. I'm getting a chance.
Come on now.
You've had it for 20. I'm 36, mate. You had it for a long time during my life, so I'm going to give it out when I can do.
Okay.
But that's what also made it oh wow, we are really miles ahead of them. Because it was just it's not the most convincing scoreline we've had, but it didn't lay a finger on us. So I'm hoping for that again, where the players just come up and absolutely take the sting out of the game, control it from the first minute to the last, and just a little bit of quality wins for us. Mahrez his goal record is probably slightly better than Ronaldo's this season, which says it all how I think he's got 19 in 32, Ronaldo's 20 in 34. So it's the same, but not slightly better. And so Mahrez, is the kind of guy who could probably win a game for us, just a little bit of moment of magic, and then City's keep the ball as they always do. And that's what I'm hoping, the story of the game will be. I'm hoping Mahrez and Foden or something will get a couple of goals. And I reckon 2-0 is what most City fans would probably feel is a reasonable expectation. We're not in great form at the moment, by the way. We're not. We've been a bit ropey against Everton, Spurs, and kind of, trudged through the Peterborough game as well with a strong team. So that's room for optimism for United.
Yeah, I wonder if there's maybe a slight chance and obviously I've seen United lose many games this season, but slightly underestimating United based on where we were as a club the last time we played each other. We'd just been battered 5-0 by Liverpool. Ollie was on his way out. We also were I think we'd just been beaten 4-2 by Leicester. We got battered by Watford 2 weeks later after we beat Tottenham. Sorry, we were in a diabolical period of form at that point. So hopefully we can obviously not repeat that. Just as a separate question, I've always thought this about Pep Guardiola, and I don't really speak to many City fans in too much detail about this. Do you not get a little bit bored watching your team just have all of the ball, not concede any chances?
No.
I used to watch Barcelona as a neutral and outsider, watch his Bayern Munich teams. It's boring. You wouldn't go to the park and watch a team of semi-pros playing against children because it's just not fun to see
Guess
one
why I
team
wouldn't?
completely dominate. Do you not get sick of it?
Guess why it's fun? I'm
Why?
a City fan. I absolutely love watching De Bruyne on the ball. I absolutely love watching Bernardo Silva on the ball. I absolutely love watching Mahrez and Foden have as many touches as possible. And no, it's like the football isn't for United. It isn't for Liverpool. It isn't for Chelsea. It's for City fans. In the same way that you weren't bored of United winning God knows how many titles under Ferguson, I am not ever going to be bored of watching City. Just masterclasses. You know, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the fear on the faces of the opposition. I love them not being able to get a touch. I love the territorial advantage. I love the goals. I love the football. And I get to watch De Bruyne play football. David Silva over the years, you know, and Aguero, and like, of course, it's not boring. I look, mate. I tell you what's boring. Getting spanked in the derby when I'm growing up week in, week out, and getting bullied for being a City fan living in Manchester. You know, like, that was boring, you know, getting relegated and all that kind of stuff. But watching City play great football, win loads of trophies, going to Wembley with my dad, that is never, ever going to be boring. I absolutely love it with a passion. And I understand it's easy to go, oh, City are boring. Like, no one's going to care. Looking back in 10 years, all the City fans will go, remember we won all those trophies and played loads of great football. That's all I care about. And I guarantee you'd feel exactly the same if it was your football as well.
Right, that was a good answer. We'll cut that out, Callum. That was too good an answer. We'll cut that out. No, thank you very much for joining us. And did you give a score prediction? Did you say 2-0?
2-0, yeah.
2-0. Yeah, thanks very much, Stephen. And again, head over to the Esteemed Kompany YouTube channel as well to check out more of him. Thank you very much for joining us. And back to Jay.
So there you are. Thanks to Steve for coming on the channel. He's feeling pretty confident from the City point of view. Callum, how are you feeling from United point of view? Give us your score prediction.
I mean, I'll give you a score prediction. Not that I believe it, though. I think United will nick a 1-0. I mean, it just, like I said before, I think it depends what United team turn up. I'll go 1-0. Nick a winner. Why not? But we'll see. 1-0.
I'll go with. I can see you thinking it would be the most United thing ever for us to get. Do you know what? I'm just gonna go 1-0. I think we'll just draw. And I don't know why, but, you know, the way you look at the form and everything else, you probably go, City will walk this one. But it wouldn't surprise me if we got a draw and then lost heavily to Liverpool and helped them win the league, because it's been that sort of season.
Yeah, it's exactly what will happen, won't it? You can just see it already, can't you?
Cal, always great to have you on the channel. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at _Callum Stone. I do write a blog, theunitedroad.com. However, it has been on hiatus because I've been very injured the past few months. So that will come back at some point, but you're probably best likely to just find me on Twitter at the moment.
Well, I look forward to when it comes by. I always love reading your writing. That's been Cal. I've been Jay. This has been the Manchester City preview. Make sure you go and check out all the merch, including these new cups we've got. We've got a load of cups there, paddockmerch.com. Subscribe to the channel if you're not doing it already. And we will be here for the watch along. We'll have myself, we'll have Joe, we'll have Andy Tate, we'll have reactions from the likes of McCullough and Housen, so make sure you're checking that out as well. Thanks to Cal. This has been thanks to Steve as well, even though he's a City fan. This has been the Manchester City preview. Thanks for watching.